Welcome to SmartCertify. In this training, we will cover CISA Domain 3, Information Systems, Acquisition, Development, and Implementation. In this video, we'll focus on second subject, which is business case and feasibility analysis. In this free training series, you'll learn everything you need to master each domain. Need expert study materials? Just send us an email at smartcertifytraining@gmail.com. And for real practice, access our 1,800 Question exam set using the Etsy link in the description. Many auditors have passed on their very first try with this exact approach, and now it's your turn. In this section, we're moving on to topic 2, business case and feasibility analysis, where we explore how projects are justified and evaluated before development begins. We'll cover the purpose of a business case, the key elements of a feasibility study, and how auditors contribute to ensuring these are realistic and aligned with enterprise goals. To complete the full Domain 3 learning path, don't forget to watch the upcoming videos, where we'll continue with system development and design and control identification and design. A business case is a foundational document that justifies the start and continuation of a project. It should clearly answer one key question: why should this project be undertaken? It outlines the business benefits, expected outcomes, costs, and risks associated with the project. Depending on the organization and size of the investment, the business case can be the very first step or come just before formal project initiation. Feasibility analysis complements the business case by diving deeper into whether the proposed project is practical, affordable, and technically possible. It usually comes right after an initial business case has been created and helps refine the project scope, solution options, and evaluation criteria. Now let's take a closer look at the key elements of a feasibility study. There are 6 core components we usually include, and each one plays an important role in shaping the project's direction. First is project scope. This is where we clearly define the problem or the opportunity we're addressing. For example, the goal might be to reduce manual invoice processing time by 50%. The scope sets the boundaries, what's in, what's out, and gives everyone a shared understanding of the objective. Second is current analysis. This looks at how things are working today. We ask, how is the current system performing? Are there delays, inefficiencies, or outdated processes? Understanding the baseline is critical before proposing any changes. Third one is requirements. Here, we identify what the project needs to succeed, not just technical needs, but business and regulatory as well. For instance, the solution might need to be GDPR compliant or integrate with an existing finance system. These requirements will directly influence the design and implementation approach. Fourth is approach. This outlines our solution options. Should we build the system in-house, buy a commercial product, or outsource it? We list the options, weigh the pros and cons, and explain why one path is recommended over the others. Fifth element is evaluation. This is where we estimate costs, including people, vendors, tools, and materials, and compare them against expected benefits. This section often includes ROI calculations or a cost-benefit analysis to help decision makers see the value of the investment. And final one is review. This is the formal step where stakeholders and decision makers review the findings. They decide whether to approve the project, request revisions, or reject it altogether. It's the final checkpoint before moving forward. So, when done properly, a feasibility study gives you a well-rounded view of whether the project makes sense, technically, financially, and strategically. Now let's talk about the role of the IS auditor in the feasibility study phase. This is a crucial part of the project, and as auditors, we have an important responsibility to make sure everything is being assessed objectively and realistically. So, what exactly do we look for? First, we check whether the requirements have been clearly defined, and more importantly, whether they've been verified through proper channels like user interviews. If users haven't been consulted, the foundation of the project may already be shaky. Second, we evaluate if the current systems have been properly assessed. You can't justify building or buying a new solution if you haven't taken the time to understand what's already in place and whether it can be improved. Third, we look closely at the cost-benefit analysis. Does it make sense? Are the numbers realistic? As auditors, we don't just accept optimistic assumptions, we challenge them. We make sure projections reflect what's likely, not just what's hoped for. Fourth, we verify that control specifications are being considered in the design phase. Security, audit trails, access controls, these all need to be built in early, not as an afterthought. And fifth, we review the vendor evaluation and testing plans. Were multiple vendors assessed, or was a single option chosen without comparison? Is there a clear plan for user acceptance testing, UAT? If not, that's a red flag. So overall, the IS auditor's involvement in the early stages isn't just about compliance, it's about guiding the project to success. We help ensure that the business case remains strong and realistic, and we prevent the project from heading down the wrong path due to wishful thinking or missing analysis. Let's make some practices. Question 1. When auditing the proposed acquisition of a new computer system, an information systems IS auditor should first ensure that a clear business case has been approved by management. B. Corporate security standards will be met. C. Users will be involved in the implementation plan. D. The new system will meet all required user functionality. Before we jump into the explanation, now is a good time to pause the video and think about your answer before we reveal the correct one. Let's look at this audit scenario from a CISA perspective. When an IS auditor is reviewing the proposed acquisition of a new computer system, what should be their first concern? While it's true that security, user involvement, and functionality are all important, those come later in the process. The auditor's first priority should be to check whether a clear business case has been developed and approved by management. Why? Because the business case defines why the system is being acquired in the first place. It should show that the project is aligned with business goals, that there's a real need, and that expected benefits outweigh the costs. Without this foundation, the project may lack direction, justification, or proper sponsorship, which increases the risk of failure. So remember, security equals essential, user involvement equals necessary, functionality equals critical, but the business case comes first. It justifies the rest. Correct answer. Clear business case has been approved by management. Question 2. A project development team is considering using production data for its test deck. The team removes sensitive data elements before loading it into the test environment. Which of the following additional concerns should an information systems auditor have with this practice? A. Not all functionality will be tested. B. Production data are introduced into the test environment. C. Specialized training is required. D. The project may run over budget. Pause the video now and take a moment to prepare your answer. If you're ready, let's go through it together. Correct answer is A. Not all functionality will be tested. Now, let's see why this is the best choice. Even though the team removed sensitive information and used production data in the test environment, this approach has one major limitation. Production data doesn't always cover all possible scenarios. It may not include rare edge cases, invalid or boundary values, scenarios that trigger error handling or exceptions. That means not all parts of the system will be exercised during testing. For thorough testing, you often need specially designed test cases to ensure all functions work correctly, not just those based on typical, real-life data. So, from an IS auditor's perspective, the main concern is the lack of test coverage, and that's why the correct answer is A. Question 3. Which of the following considerations is the most important while evaluating a business case for the acquisition of a new accounting application? A total cost of ownership of the application. B. The resources required for implementation. C. Return on investment, ROI, for the enterprise. D. The cost and complexity of security requirements. Now, you can pause the video again if you'd like to take a moment before we continue. Correct answer is C. Return on investment, ROI, for the enterprise. When evaluating a business case for acquiring a new accounting application, the most important consideration is whether the investment will bring measurable value to the organization, and that's where ROI comes in. ROI assesses the financial benefit the enterprise expects to gain compared to the total costs involved, including implementation, training, maintenance, and support. It reflects how well the application will support business goals, improve efficiency, reduce errors, or help meet compliance requirements. While total cost, A, resources, B, and security considerations, D, are all important parts of the evaluation. ROI provides the big picture. Is this a worthwhile investment overall? That's why, from an IS auditor's or business decision maker's perspective, the correct and most critical factor is C, return on investment. Thank you for watching. Now, let's continue with the next video, System Development and Design. See you there.